one of the things I realized very quickly is I loved being in that realm so much that I wasn't taking action on a human level. So I needed to really focus on my human actions, like stepping out, making decisions, making choices. Where do I want to go? How do I want to use my connection with my soul, with my spiritual self, to bring it into the world? What do I need to do to bring that energy forward and to share it with others? And that was my big lesson as I started this journey.
Welcome to the MINDTRX podcast with breakthrough ideas to live your best life possible and how to make it happen. I'm Paul Scheele, and today we will be joined by Annette Rugolo. Annette's greatest passion is helping people align with their soul purpose. By employing a deep understanding of vibrational healing and universe messaging, she can easily tune into a person's energy through soul-to-soul connections. After identifying what is preventing them from living their purpose, she enables the release of physical, emotional, mental, or karmic patterns. Annette is the author of Soul Whisperer, Releasing Lost Souls. Hello, Annette. Welcome to the MINDTRX podcast. Really good to have you here. Good to see you.
Thank you, Paul. Really good to be here.
Well, we agree that we are energetic beings living in an energetic universe, and this is really where you do your work. You're trained in perceiving energetic planes that are not always available to people through their own conscious mind and their eyes. You're trained in dowsing, law of attraction, and you do a lot of work in the spirit realm. So I would love to start our podcast by looking at this idea of the law of attraction. Could you explain that for those who don't know about it?
Yes, actually, there are 3 levels of the law of attraction. So there are the spiritual level, and this is us on a soul level. And I work with a lot of people that I'm helping to understand that your soul actually chose the life that you are living right now. You chose your parents, you chose where you were born, the challenges you had an opportunity to overcome, the karma that you came in with. That's all soul level stuff, I would say. So we're a soul, like you said, a spirit energy living in a physical world, a physical body. So then we have the human law of attraction. That is, we change our human law of attraction by everything we do. When we educate ourselves, when we stay healthy, when we get a different job, all of that is human law of attraction. And then there is an environmental law of attraction of the energy of our spaces. And this is one of the things I really love helping people understand, of the energy of our homes, our land, our cities affect our law of attraction, and who we are, or what we attract basically in our lives. And sometimes there are blocks on all of these levels that we need to look for and release, and just open up to these different levels, understanding that there are these different levels.
Excellent. So let's break this down just a little bit more. I know in the area of what you would call the heavenly law of attraction. We're born spiritual beings into the experience that we're having. And it's not that we are victims of circumstance. I mean, we can't necessarily always choose a circumstance we'll be in, but we can choose how we respond to it. But there is this idea of karma that you referred to earlier, and there's also the idea of Dharma. Could you say a little bit about karma and Dharma with respect to the work that I read of yours?
Yes. So I have a really simple definition of the word karma. So karma is anything that has created separation from the oneness. So it's density, it's separation. So that karma, sometimes, and I know when I first started in this work, I always thought karma was something we did to others and we were going to get it back to ourselves, right? So we killed somebody in a past lifetime and then that soul is going to come back and kill us. And that's not the case. So karma is about releasing whatever has created that separation. And it's about forgiving either ourselves or others.
Yeah, I was going to say the idea of compassion or forgiveness, gratitude, these are all the kinds of energetic shifts that can help to shift our karma. I remember studying yoga meditation, and one of the books I read was by Swami Rama called Freedom from the Bondage of Karma. And it's not, karma isn't just you're cast into this dark place because of bad things you've done before, but every moment of your life, you are creating your karma. You're creating an energetic effect. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Well, I actually believe that we have a choice of creating more darkness or density or more light. And that's the dharmic piece. So, Dharma is when we're stepping into our soul purpose, when we're creating more light for ourselves, our family, the world, than density. So, this is where I I believe it wholeheartedly. At the end of our lifetime, we have a life review, and at the end of each of our lives, we get to see if we've created more darkness, density, more separation, or more light. Did we really step into the light that we are here to be and our soul purpose?
Good. So the separation and oneness are on the two opposite ends. And another way I have heard of it is that perfect love casteth out all fear. So love is light and fear is dark. Anger, hatred, rage, revenge, that's all dark energy. And we can shift that as we move toward the light, as we step into a sense of oneness with the universe, with others, with our own soul's journey. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now we can talk a bit about the human energy field, which you referred to earlier. And in your book, you talked about has to do with positive actions that we engage in. So you mentioned, if I'm learning, like attending this podcast and learning something new, that increases my law of attraction, my vibrational energy, because it's a positive action. If I eat well today, if I take care of my physical body with exercise, nutrition, good rest, prayer, meditation, and so on, how do you characterize what a person can do for improving their law of attraction in the human realm?
So I want to share a little bit about my own experience. So When I first started on this path, I loved the meditation. I loved connecting with my higher self, my soul, um, consciousness of the universe. And one of the things I realized very quickly is I loved being in that realm so much that I wasn't taking action on a human level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important. So this is where I'm sure we'll talk about putting this all together. But when we miss one level of this law of attraction, we're missing out on something, right? So I needed to really focus on my human actions, like stepping out, making decisions, making choices. Where do I want to go? How do I want to use my connection with my soul, with my spiritual self, to bring it into the world?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do to bring that energy forward and to share it with others? And that was my big lesson in as I started this journey. That's over
Yes.
25 years ago, right?
I remember people when I started studying meditation who were a part of the ashram for the Himalayan yoga meditation. And all they wanted to do was stay there. They
Yeah.
didn't want to go get a job. They didn't want to have a relationship. They just wanted to stay and meditate all the time. And I remember a dear friend of mine said to his guru, his master, "Yeah, I want to be a swami. I want to do what you do." And he said, "No, that's not your path in this life. You're going to go to work. You're going to have a family. You're going to have children." He went, "But that's not what I want. That's what is for you to do." And I don't know if you know the Aveda Corporation,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they created this first line of all natural hair products, hair and skin, and it was based on plant essential oils, plant
I use
essences.
I use those products.
Yeah, he was the one that developed all of the essential oils for that. And it was all part of this tradition of energy. So I really appreciate what you're saying about that. And sometimes it's really tuning into the fact that we're not following our calling. And maybe that's when we start getting those spiritual signals. What is my calling? What's mine to do? Is that how you make that distinction?
Yes. Like following and so many times I've talked to people that are disconnected from their intuition, from their gut feeling. So our intuition, we need to open up and connect back with our intuition because there's I call it soul guidance. When you're connected with your soul, you don't want to live there. You want to embody the light of your soul. But it's like when you embody it, then it's like there's a soul guidance that will guide you into your life, into the first step you need to take.
Yes, I have had a teacher named Arnold Patton who coached me for a couple of years, and he said, Paul, the real key here, the distinction of doing this work is awakening to this purpose that you are living. And you are going to encounter a lot of blocks, a lot of barriers, a lot of difficulty. But the moment that you realize you're not a victim of the world, what happens is you now awaken that guidance from the soul, and the soul will carry you the rest of the way. In other words, it will continue to bring you to the right teachers, to the right experiences, to the right places, to guide you in your progress through life. It sounds like that's what you're talking about as well.
So I was in a class quite a few years ago when I first got started. So this teacher had everybody sit in a circle and brought somebody into the center of the circle. And it was a demonstration of, okay, that person was blindfolded, I should say.
Mhm.
So um, she encouraged this person to start moving. And um, basically, the demonstration was if you just stay in the center of the circle and don't move, nothing will happen. So this person, blindfolded, started going to the edge of the circle. And if it wasn't um, something that they needed to be, that person would put them back into the center of the circle, and they'd have to go around that circle until they met the person or the where they needed to be in that circle. But it's about starting to move. Okay. The universe corrects. So if you don't move or take action or take steps in any direction, it's trusting the universe. It's an autocorrect, we call
Nice.
it,
I,
right?
I love that. I call it dynamic steering. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing. I do a demonstration where I have people put a yardstick in the palm of their hand and try to balance it there so that when they release it with the other hand, it's just going to stay upright. Well, it never will. But if you look at the top of it and you move your hand, you're going to always be able to balance it upright.
Yeah.
And it's that dynamic interaction with the feedback that we're getting. And does the feedback need to come through your physical senses? Not really, as evidenced by the energy of the group and the person who's blindfolded. They're going to start picking up those signals, but they have to be in a state of action. And that, again, this is the human energy, positive action. So beautiful, I get it. So let's move to the earthly luck or that earthly energy. You talk about things that I can do in my environment that would either create more density and darkness or more light. What would I be doing there?
Um, so as you know, I'm a dowser. Um, so I love going
And
in.
and perhaps you could explain what is a
What is
dowser.
it?
Not everybody knows.
Okay. So I'm a master diamond dowser. Um, this program was created by Marie Diamond. And I go into environments and find and cure uh, stress lines, geopathic stress, interference lines, all of the lower vibrational energy that has been created by our earth, by cell phone towers, radio towers, satellite dishes. So there's lower vibrational energies that exist in our environments, and I go in, find them, and cure them.
So sometimes a person who's quite ill will have their bed right over a negative energy spot, right?
And so the first house after I learned how to dowse was my daughter's house. And it turned out my 4-year-old grandson at the time was sleeping next to a negative vortex. And at 4 years old, he was having uncontrollable tantrums, nightmares, everything. They had just moved into the house. So he didn't have that before. So I knew there was something in that house. So I went there. Turned out he was sleeping next to a negative vortex, which is a very dense energy field. And he was reacting. He was trying to tell us that something was really wrong. Right?
So what happened after you cured that energy vortex?
Nightmares went away, tantrums went away, everything shifted,
Wow.
everything changed.
That's so cool.
And I've seen that with children, especially. They will react really um, over the top reactions to that energy.
Yeah. So if a person doesn't hire you to come in and cure a negative energy vortex,
Mm.
what can they do on their own that can help shift the energy in their home or their office in a positive way?
So there's a couple things. I work with light frequencies. So filling your home with unconditional love. It's this universe is created with unconditional love, and just filling your home, it's rose light. You can start shifting the energy of your home. Um, if you are sleeping in a place and you're not able to sleep, or there's nightmares, night terrors, actually try moving your bed and seeing if that is a solution for for what you're dealing with. So you can do that. Um, one of the things I've seen is people are awakening, and a lot of our children are helping their parents awaken to the energy of their spaces. So my daughter wasn't aware of negative energy, but now she is, right? So I think a lot of our children are coming in to, they're very sensitive to this energy. They're very high vibrational souls, very conscious beings, and they are reacting to this energy.
Excellent.
Um,
So
so,
they're here to awaken
well,
and awaken us. And there's quite an ancient idea that child is father to the man. So we do need to be observing what's happening in the stress levels of our children and do what we can to correct that. And we'll be correcting or bringing about a greater sense of ease and unconditional love in the world as well.
so the other option, there's something called energy rings that if you feel like there's a really dense negative energy in your house, um, these energy rings, it's on my website, but these energy rings are activated with light frequencies that will immediately shift that energy out. So it's kind of spot cleansing, cleaning, but it does help.
Yes, I have one under my office chair. It's actually attached. So
Oh,
wherever my office chair moves, I get that good
you get
vibe
it?
on me. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you referred to in your book, Spirit Whisperer, about third, fourth, and fifth dimensions. And how can this help us to be more effective in our use of the law of attraction?
Mhm. So I describe my definition of the third dimension is when we are not awakened, um, we are not connected with our spiritual senses at all. We're still living in our lower three chakras, and we haven't experienced an awakening. So people living in the third dimension, um, their reality is only the stuff, the energy that they can see, feel, hear, touch with their five physical senses, right? So it's their path, so there's no judgment about that. But there are people then that awaken. I always look at it, we have seven chakras in our system, three lower chakras. Those are the people that haven't awakened yet. Anybody that connects to their heart, that they begin to awaken and they start their journey in the fourth dimension. So the fourth dimension awakens them, opens them up, and they start experiencing that energy from their awakened spiritual senses. People begin seeing or feeling or hearing the energy around them. And when this happens, if you're around other people that are still living in their third dimension, they're going to think you're crazy because what you're seeing, hearing, or um, seeing, hearing, or what's the other word?
Feeling.
Feeling, yes.
Well, I have lots of experience with that as well in working with clients. And again, back to my teacher, Arnold Patton, he says, when we're in that third dimension, we talk about space being front, back, side to side, up and down. That's the three dimensions. Fourth dimension is time. And what we know is that mind has the ability to transcend time and space. We can go to the future, we can go to the past, we can review, can see the big arc of our life, and we can also have choice. And when we start awakening to that fourth dimension, as you say, there's an inner set of senses. There's inner seeing, what we call clairvoyance, right? And then there's clairaudience, which is that the hearing, and there's clairsentience, which is those gut hunches, those intuitive awakenings that will guide us. And as we start becoming aware of that, then all of a sudden we have these amazing coincidences that happen, like, oh, weird, I just thought about that and then it happened. And all of a sudden now we're starting to put energy toward thought experiments, ways in which we can start awakening to how our consciousness creates the life that we live. We're not just victims of the world we see. We're actually co-creators with this universal energy of the world that we can choose to live in.
Exactly. And this is where I call it really stepping into connecting back to your soul, your universal being of who you really are. And like you said, Paul, you step out of that victim mode. It's like you're now in control of your life.
Well, control may be an illusion,
Um,
but you're certainly
yeah,
directing.
you're directing,
You're
yes.
directing more of it, yeah.
And so you are the creator of your life.
Yes. So what happens then at the fifth dimension, and how do we start tuning into that? Because isn't that where we start sensing angels and guardian spirits and spiritual masters?
It actually happens before that. So I've been teaching in the inner diamond method for over 20 years. So I like to describe it as there's something in that program that teaches you how to connect with your higher levels of awareness. So just very quickly, 3 feet above the top of your head, you have a ball of white light. And it's called your quantum point. And your quantum point connects you, it takes you into the fourth dimension. It introduces you to that fourth dimension and takes you out of your third dimensional self. Okay. So there's the levels above that connect you with your inner wisdom, your inner sight. And at these levels, your soul remembers and opens up to these fields of consciousness that you are now seeing or feeling or hearing different things in the universe. So then 3 feet above your head is your quantum point. 6 feet above your head is a golden field of light. that you connect to in this method, and that's the fifth dimension. And this is where you are totally connected now with the field of oneness. You have this oneness experience, and you sense the oneness not only within yourself, but in the universe, in others, in the world. And we're all guided right now to hold that energy, that oneness experience, not only for ourselves, but for others.
Nice. So when we are meditating, it's probably the best way to start opening up these fields of energy. Is that the idea behind the method
Yes.
you teach?
And I love this method because it gives people, I used to do another meditation before I learned the inner diamond. And it's one of the things I always say is it quieted my mind, this other meditation, for 20, 30 minutes a day. It was wonderful. But I recognized after a few years, it didn't actually transform anything in my life. So the inner diamond meditation that I use daily and teach, it actually gave me the tools to transform my karma that I came in with on a soul level. And it really helped me align with my inner wisdom, my inner sight, my inner knowing. And all of these higher levels of awareness are connected with our upper chakras. So we are now totally aligned and connected with our soul purpose. And when that happens, all of this insight, the guidance is able to, we have access to it. It's able to flow into us. And
So it's always been here for us. It's always been ready and waiting for us to turn toward it. Is that how you would describe it? Okay.
yeah.
So now this brings me back to this topic in your book about angels and guardian spirits and spiritual masters. How does that start to show up for people?
I want to share this. So after I took a class with Marie Diamond, this was back in 2003, I learned this information. So when our soul awakens, there's our quantum point gets bright. It's a heart-opening experience. And I was coming back, flying back home to Minneapolis, and it was dusk and there was a light fog on the ground. And what she was saying is every time a soul awakens, there's an ascended master that sees that soul, brings them into, connects with them, and begins supporting them on a soul level. Ascended masters have ashrams, places in the etheric field that they bring their students during their sleep time. And so as I'm flying into Minneapolis at dusk, layer of light fog on the ground, all I could see were the lights coming up through the fog. And it's like, oh, I got a visual of what these ascended masters are seeing when the lights come on, right? It's like, oh,
Beautiful.
I'll take that one. I'll take that one.
That's beautiful.
So,
Great metaphor.
so we all have ascended masters that are here to support us. We
Nice.
also have a soul team that we have so much help and support in this lifetime. So we have a soul team, a group of souls that we met with before we incarnated, and they are holding the energy, the space for us, and learning through us as we go through this lifetime as well.
Oh, nice. Well, I loved a phrase that you wrote in your book. I've quoted it here. When we understand we have a spiritual team with us during our lifetime, we can begin to consciously connect and be more open to their guidance and support. So what would you encourage our listener to do to help recognize that spiritual team that they have, to connect with them?
I really like just sitting quietly, breathing, and going to my heart. Our heart is a connector. So we can just sit and invite in your team, your support. And part of it is just trusting that you have this support. There's so many people I've talked to over the years that it's like, oh, I'm all alone in this lifetime. No, you're not. So just sitting quietly. The other thing I like to do is, again, go to your heart. That's an easy place to go. And before you go to sleep, ask to connect one of your spirit guides or your spiritual master to give you information, downloads, or inspiration, guidance during your dream time. When you ask for this, trust that it will be given to you. And I do this all the time of, yes, I get guidance and I feel support. Just open yourself to receive that.
Nice. And so that awakens our intuition. It awakens a sense of safety, security, peace, knowing that we are not alone in the universe, but that we are here for a purpose, held up and expanded to do the work that we're here to do in the world, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Our true purpose. You know, your book, The Soul Whisperer, the Spirit Whisperer, Soul Whisperer.
Soul Whisperer.
Soul Whisperers, yeah. I read the book. I loved it. There were a bunch of things in there that unfortunately we don't have time to really get into in our podcast today. But this idea of helping earthbound spirits, sometimes we are called to help out. I certainly feel it when colleagues or friends pass or their parents or spouses pass, that I do a lot of prayer work to help them make the transition. Both my wife Libby and I have been called in several circumstances to facilitate. And in a lot of traditions, we hold space for the soul to reorient and move along. Is there any easy thought that can help someone get into your book to understand what this idea is, why we're called, why it's important that we should do this sort of facilitation?
So one of the things I came to understand as I was doing this release work is the importance of doing this work for anyone, again, anyone who's called to. Not everybody has that sole purpose, but many of us do. What I see is this soul, as long as it's stuck in this dimension, has not moved on, it cannot continue its soul evolution. It's stuck in its evolution until it's released. So what keeps it stuck or keeps it here is trauma, belief systems, a shock, anything that has maybe some judgment, attachments, those are huge too. Sometimes people will stay attached to a house, a land, a place where they don't want to leave, or somebody is keeping them attached that somebody living doesn't want them to leave. There's so many different things. But the bottom line is, as long as that spirit is here, it cannot continue its soul evolution.
Interesting. So many of us are called in to help our parents make their transition. And you tell a story about your mother's decline into Alzheimer's and opening a portal for her. My father had a 7-year decline into dementia. And what was interesting to me was he was a private pilot during his better years in his older age. And his dementia created kind of a fog around him, like he was disoriented. And when he passed, I connected with him after he passed, and it was fascinating because there I was sitting next to him in his airplane. We're flying across country. And what he was doing is he was going to visit all the people and all the places. And what was neat about it is, as a private pilot, you have to orient yourself. And there are long stretches when you don't really do much but tune into the navigational signals. And over the period of several months, he became more aware that he had made his transition. It was so interesting. So in a way, I felt I was not only facilitating his orientation and his moving on and his spiritual journey, but I was also witnessing his way of getting to that place. And I thought it was a beautiful story you told about your mother's, just in her Alzheimer's, being able to hold a place that she could actually move into to pass.
So I connected with my mom after she passed as well. And she showed me that I actually helped her move through the fog of her mental body, and she was brought into the light. So that was beautiful.
Gorgeous. Again, I think it's testimony to the early statements that you made that we need to bring more light into our lives. So thank you so much for this time together. Is there any final thought that you might offer our listener to how to continue in their journey toward more light and peace in the world?
It's a really good question, Paul. It's like, I really, really like to have moments of quiet. In these reflective moments, we need to stop the busyness of our lives and really listen to ourselves, listen to what we need. I love spending time in nature, and that recalibrates our energy sometimes. It readjusts us, and just putting the phone away, putting the computers, the iPads away for a few hours, even a day, and just really pay attention. Sit in quiet meditation and listen to your heart, your soul, and ask for guidance in that moment and trust that you will be guided.
Yeah, there is a great promise. Ask and it shall be given unto you. So beautiful. Thanks. Great suggestion, Annette. I really appreciate your energy and all the love you're bringing into the world. Thanks so much for being a part of this.
Thank you, Paul.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Annette Rugolo. You can learn more about Annette at www.annetterugolo.com. And now in the second part of the podcast, it's just you and me. I'll tell you how to use the Paraliminal sessions in the MINDTRX app to easily handle obstacles and move toward the success you want, especially as it relates to Annette's message. If you're new to the relaxing Paraliminal audio sessions, they use breakthrough technologies to activate your whole mind in only 20 minutes to help improve any area of your life. Let's get going. Hello, welcome back. This is the follow-on to my conversation with Annette Rugolo, where we were talking about how we can use the law of attraction to be more aligned with our true soul's purpose and live into our full spiritual potential as human beings. There were a number of areas that stood out for me. The idea of how do we use the law of attraction? How can we shift away from the more dense or dark energies that are going on in our lives? How we can take more positive action in the direction of what matters most? How we can create more light in life, in our relationships, in our world? And finally, how we can awaken our true intuitive powers to sense more of the guidance that's really available to us on an ongoing basis. So there were a number of paraliminals that occurred to me that could assist us in being able to accomplish each of these major areas. And let's go through those now. In the way of using the law of attraction, there is a paraliminal I did with Jack Canfield called Living the Law of Attraction. That's the ideal one. It talks about how we can get our energy to the higher vibrational levels to attract to us whatever it is that we may be wanting to create in our lives. And this, in terms that Annette was referring to, this could include our spiritual energy, our heavenly energy, our human energy, as well as our earthly energy. So living the law of attraction. The other one that could be really helpful here, it's a paraliminal I often refer to. It's called prosperity. And in the prosperity paraliminal, we're saying, there is abundance in the universe. How can I have personal access through a prosperity consciousness to attract to me that resourcefulness that can assist in creating the life that I want to live? So that's in the area of using the law of attraction, living the law of attraction in the prosperity paraliminal. The next area is in shifting away from density. She refers to this dark energy of anger, fear, resentment, where we're closed down into a sense of dense energy or a negative energy, and how we can start living more into the light. So as we think about moving away from density, there are two that occurred to me. The first is fearlessness. As I mentioned in our podcast, perfect love casteth out all fear. So living fearlessly is to be able to step into the real energy that's available to you right now. If you tune into the breath that's flowing in your nostrils, if you relax your shoulders, if you get a smile on your face, that shift actually puts you more in touch with where you are right now in this energetic being that you are, and you can start directing that energy into creating. The second paraliminal is very helpful, is anxiety-free. Because very often as we anticipate a future, the sense of uncertainty can sometimes cloud our imagination, and we project into our future negative possibilities. We awfulize about something that happened and think, oh, what if this happens more? What if it happens again? As we pull that out and we stay focused on imagining the ideal end result, and living into that, then what happens is we are vibrating at that higher energetic level, which will attract to us all the resources to actually have it created in our lives. That's the essence of the law of attraction. My emphasis here is getting out of those dense negative projections that we might be putting into the world. The third area is about taking positive action. This has to do with what she was referring to as this human realm, how we can take positive action in the direction of what matters most to us. And there are two that can be very helpful, two paraliminals. First is called the new action generator. When we look to the future, we know that we're going to be learning and growing to accomplish more of what matters. We're going to be building our skills, our knowledge, our attitudes. We're going to gain access to more of our true capabilities and create an identity for ourselves, which is a person who can live with that high, hard goal that you've been holding in your heart to accomplish. So this new action generator is going to help tremendously. And the second one, which is more of a paraliminal that can help us on a daily basis, just see more of the abundant resourcefulness that's available to us all around us and within us all the time. And that's a paraliminal called finding treasure. So both of these, new action generator and finding treasure, will start orienting your mind towards resourcefulness that's available to you. The third area is in creating more light in life. So one that's a lot of fun is called creating sparks, and that has to do with how we relate to other people. We are energetic beings, others are energetic beings, and it's the interaction of those two energy fields that creates sparks, that creates that magic that we seek in relationships. Now, it could be friendship, it could be romantic, it could be in business, but the idea is that we're interacting with the world as energetic beings to create more as a result of coming together. So creating sparks, very helpful. And the other paraliminal helpful in this area is called Youthful Vitality. And there are a number of characteristics that if you were to embody these would help show you more light, more freedom, more energy to create, just like a youthful person would. You can use that youth, those mindsets and heart sets and the will to step into the world more wholeheartedly, creating as you want to create. Creativity, joy, happiness, connection, love, all of these qualities and characteristics are available, and you get to select from the choices and focus on that one for the day. So that's youthful vitality. Creating more light by creating sparks and more vitality. The final area is about awakening our intuition. Now, Annette and I both agree that we are naturally intuitive beings. We have our 5 outer physical senses, but by simply closing your eyes, you can actually expand your internal awareness for all the interior senses as well. And the 2 paraliminals I would recommend in this area is first is focus and concentration, because when it is time for us to do something, we want to be able to direct the mind to actually accomplish that. And the other paraliminal is called intuition amplifier. So all of us are receiving these internal signals, some by an internal feeling, like a gut feeling or a hunch, feeling of contraction or expansion. The second is clairaudience, and that's that still small voice within us that we often can only hear when we quiet the mind. And the final is clairvoyance, which is to have clear vision about an intuitive signal that is there for us. So the intuition amplifier helps crank up the signal by reducing the noise, amplifying the signal. You get more direct communication from your spirit, your soul, the universe, the divine, ascended masters, guardian angels, you name it. But the idea is we have to be able to reduce the noise that's normally hitting us from our busy society and amplify the signal of that quiet communication from your higher mind. So that's awakening your intuition, focus and concentration, intuition amplifier. These are all suggested for your use. They're in your MINDTRX app. I encourage you to become very familiar with all of the resources that are there for you. Thanks for being a part of this MINDTRX podcast. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me today. I applaud your willingness to maximize your potential. You can easily use the Paraliminal audio sessions in the MINDTRX app to stimulate your non-conscious mind, that is your inner mind, to reduce any resistance in your life and to propel you toward the success you want. Go to www.mindtrax.com/go. These amazing audio tools have helped millions, and I encourage you to bring them into your world today. Be sure to be back for more episodes of the MINDTRX podcast. You'll find insightful conversations with authors, experts, and thought leaders, all devoted to improving your life's experience. Thank you again for being here on our MINDTRX podcast.